Hello everyone and welcome to another Old World update, another Old World Almanack, the final one as far as I can gather, and this one talks about some of the universal special rules, and we get the Grail Knights as an example for these, and of course we get some more information on the Grail Knights themselves as well. So let's quickly take a look at the article. Old World Almanack, Living Saints and Special Rules. They start off by telling us something we already know. The Grail Knights are the epitome of the Bretonnian idea of chivalry. Warriors of immeasurable prowess and exemplars of courage, virtue and noblesse oblige. Arguably the most devastating heavy cavalry plying their trade in the Old World, these are literally the last living saints your average devotee to the Dark God wants to meet out on the battlefield. And seeing as how there are not many living saints on the battlefield, I guess that these are also the only ones. So we start off here with the Grail Knights with their rules and their models as well. These models are the exact same models that we got back in 6th edition. From the looks of it, they are even still on their old 25 by 50mm bases, although they might have gotten an upgrade there. It's a bit difficult to see with the perspective, but if you take a look at the picture in the army book, in the Bretonnian army book, you will see that these are the exact same models that you got in 6th edition, in the 6th edition army book. And then of course I mean literally the exact same, as in this model was taken, a picture of this model was placed over here with this article. So let's take a look at their stats. They are 38 points per model, and that has not changed from their final iteration in 6th edition. 6th edition Grail Knights were also 38 points per model, though their stats have changed quite a bit. So let's take a look at their stats. The movement value for the Grail Knights is missing because they've got the movement of the Bretonnian Warhorse. Some of the stats of the Warhorse itself are missing as well, but these have remained unchanged from what they were in 6th edition, or at least the stats that are remaining. Then we take a look at the actual stat line for the Grail Knights. The weapon skill has gone up by 1 point. Ballistic skill has gone down by 1 point, but who cares, because bows are way below what a noble knight would use anyway. They have a strength of 4 that's remained the same, but their toughness has gone up a point to 4. Their number of wounds has of course remained the same as the initiative, also initiative 5. They still have 2 attacks, but their leadership has gone up 1 point. And one of the changes as well is that now you have the option to get a Grail Guardian or a champion model with an extra attack for 7 points. With those stats, that's nothing to sneeze at. You can of course also still have a standard bearer and a musician. The upgrades for these have gone down in points quite a bit to 7 points apiece, and they were 10 points for a musician and 20 points for a standard bearer. It used to be that these Grail Knights counted as champions all in their own right. I don't think that champions could have anything, but they can here. So let's take a look at what we get here for the rest. Troop type heavy cavalry. I guess we now have a distinction between heavy cavalry and light cavalry, and that might mean that light cavalry and fast cavalry have become more or less synonymous. I'm not sure if that was covered in an earlier article or not. The base size is now 30 by 60 millimeters. That also suggests that large infantry models like orcs and chaos warriors will be on 30 by 30 bases. It would make the most sense, seeing as then you keep the scaling at the same level, scaling of the bases. The unit size is 3+, that's also still the same. Well, it used to be 3 to 12, but there's no maximum now, so that means that we can get more Grail Knights. Then the equipment, they still have hand weapons, lances, heavy armor, and shields. The Bretonnian war horses, they have hooves, which count as hand weapons, and barding. So, yeah, this is still your standard barded knight, which should give you a 2+ armor save. For the options, I already mentioned the command options. They can have a magic banner worth up to 100 points. That's twice as much as what it was in 6th edition. And the champion, furthermore, can take a single knightly virtue plus magic items costing up to 50 points. In 6th edition, it used to be that the cost for virtues was counted towards your magic item allotment. So, for example, a Bretonnian lord could have up to 100 points of magic items from the Bretonnian item list, magic items from the common magic items, or virtues, as long as whatever combination you took did not exceed 100 points. Then we get to take a look at the special rules, and they've got quite a lot, but as we will see, some of these are very common special rules that we will get to know pretty soon. So we start off with Blessings of the Lady, Close Order, Countercharge, Finest War Horses, First Charge, Lance Formation, Living Saints, that's a rule that they also had in 6th edition, Swift Stride, and the Grail Vow. Grail Vow was also there in 6th edition, and the rule Finest War Horses that they have here was called Pure Breed Warhorse in 6th edition. So we've got the summary here: Web Skill 6, 5 Initiative, and 2 Attacks. They are a truly terrifying proposition, but you also get their equipment. Let's see, with Heavy Armor, Shields, and Bard Bretonnian Horses, they have a save of 3+. Why is that a 3+ save? That should be a 2+, because Barding should give you an extra point for being mounted, or unless mounted now does not give you an extra armor save. Lancers give them +2 strength on the turn they charged, and Armor Bane 1. Now this rule Armor Bane we've seen a couple of times as well, and here we finally get it explained. Armor Bane, if a model with this special rule rolls a natural 6 when making a rule to wound, the armor piercing characteristic is improved by the amount shown in brackets. In this case X, so if you roll a 6 to wound, then it would mean a reduction in armor by 3 instead of by 2. We get here that this is one of the about 75 universal special rules in the game. Seems a lot at first glance, but this new system simply collates a lot of the special rules that once lived in several places. Psychology, unit coherence, or monster rules. So this is a trend that's been going on, I think, since 6th edition, started in 6th edition, where every new edition you got more special rules added in there. Things that were before found in other places, especially in 8th edition you saw that. But then in 8th edition, they also gave you special rules for troop types, but now they say we put all those special rules in one place. And then, of course, you will also see all those special rules mentioned in the special rules section of the different units, so that you will have less chance of forgetting them, such as, for example, stomp attacks. They were once listed under the monster rules, now they are a universal special rule. So it makes it easier to remember you've got a stomp in the first place. And that is something that I, back in the day, at least when I played 8th edition, still used to forget a lot of times. Beyond universal special rules, there's also rules that govern units from a single army, which are collected in the relevant army lists, and even a couple of rules that are unique to a particular unit. What I was afraid of earlier was that these universal special rules, as well as army-specific rules and unit-specific rules, would all be found in different places, but that's fortunately not the case. They are all listed on the individual profiles. So let's take a look at what they are doing. The first are the Blessings of the Lady. This is what used to be your Bretonnian prayer before battle. So you forfeit rolling for the turn. You simply allow your opponent to start first. And if you do, that will give you a 6+ ward save or a 5+ ward save against wounds of strength 5 or higher. And this blessing can be lost by besmirching one's own honor, such as fleeing or declining a challenge. That's also still the same. We get here this lovely bit of artwork that we also got in the 6th edition army book. Then we get close order. That's something that we covered already in an earlier article, in the article about movement. They didn't really say much about what exactly it is. They just said that units in close order are simply close together, and in open order you have a bit more freedom of movement. I'm going to assume that there's something to do with rank bonus there, that if you have open order you don't get as much rank bonus, or maybe none at all. But I guess we'll have to wait for the rulebook to see how that works. Or maybe we read it and my old brain already forgot what it exactly was. Countercharge. This is effective against monsters, cavalry and chariots. If our knights are charged by units such as these from a longer distance than the attacker's movement characteristic, they can spur their horses d3 + 1 inches in response. Both parties count charging, and initiative then comes into play. This is good if you have chariots charging in from, well, let's say chariots have a move of 8 inch. Think about the Tomb King's chariots, which they will likely encounter, seeing as how Bretonnia and Tomb Kings have been more or less touted as being the first 2 armies to be released. This will give you it will either take away the benefit of charging from a long distance, thus making your opponent a little bit more risky, and possibly also taking a charge themselves in the next turn, or it will simply allow you to get in there and get that sweet +2 strength bonus for charging with lances. And with an initiative of 5, there's a very decent chance that you'll be striking first. Finest Warhorses is the other Bretonnian only special rule. This is about the what it used to be in the purebred horses, which means that you don't suffer any movement penalties from wearing barding, and that the horses were strong enough to carry a fully armored knight without any movement penalties. But now it is so that you may re-roll any ones when you charge, flee, or pursue before discarding any dice. This is a big change. It will also allow you to get a bit higher movement, but it is no longer to do with barding, and this also leads me to think that the rule of getting a standard 6+ armor save when mounted is now gone in this edition. Another rule is first charge. If the first charge of the game makes contact, then the target unit loses its rank bonus until the next round of combat. That gives you a very decent chance with these stats to break a unit in the first round of combat. Lance formation, that's the formation special to Bretonnia, and that's also something that we are getting back again from what it was in 5th edition, an actual lance in the shape of a lance tip and no longer a lance in the shape of a column. We see here again a lovely piece of artwork from the 6th edition army book with both the Grail Knights and the Battle Pilgrims with the Grail Reliquary. We haven't seen them pop up yet, but I certainly hope that they will be back, because that was a very lovely, characterful unit, even if it probably wasn't the best on the battlefield. I don't know, I haven't never played with or against them, but it's one unit that I would love to see return just for the background. The rule Living Saints then we get, it's an example of a unique special rule, and that's still the same as what it was. The Grail Knights, they can individually issue challenges and also accept challenges. At least I'm assuming that's what they can do as well, because it would not make sense to just be able to issue but not accept. Swift Stride adds a further 3 inch to your maximum charge range and plus d6 inch to any given charge, flight or pursuit. Now I have no idea what they mean by this adding a further 3" to your maximum charge range. There might be that this means that this is a cap. I've been thinking about this when I first read the article, and I couldn't really figure it out. But normally you have a charge range. It says in the they give you an example in the movement article. In the movement article, they say skeletons, they have a base move of 4, and you roll 2d6 for the charge range. Select the highest, and add the movement value. So you have a charge range for skeletons that lies between 5 and 10 inches. I'm assuming here that this Swift Stride rule, it adds another d6 inches to any given charge, but it gives you a cap of maximum, a 3" to your maximum. So your maximum charge range for Bretonnian Knights would be 8 inches for the horse, plus d6, so 6 on the d6 is 14. And then Swift Stride adds another d6, but it gives you a cap of 17 inches in total. I think that's what they mean by this. It doesn't say that you add 3 inches automatically, because it's talking about the maximum charge range here. But that might involve a bit more bookkeeping. So it might be that if you roll a, say a 5 and a 6, you take the 6 and then you add another 6 for the Swift Stride d6. There's a lot of 6s in one sentence. Then you would normally get 12 and 8, 20 inches charge range, but that's capped off at 17 because you get 6 plus 8 plus 3. So yeah, that's my guess at least, but my guess, I guess, is as good as anyone's guess. Then we get the Grail Vow that provides further benefits. They are unaffected by fear and terror. They fight with magical attacks, and the first time they fail a break test, they may automatically fall back in good order, which means that you run back, but you don't break and flee. So that's what then the enemy can sort of pursue, but not really. The Grail Vow in 6th edition, it was a little bit different. Of course, because you don't have any falling back in good order. Grail Vow simply means that you are immune to psychology, and you cannot be joined by characters with the Knight's Vow or the Questing Vow, any lower vows. And that you automatically start the game with the Blessings of the Lady, whether or not the army stops to pray before the battle and surrenders the first turn. All attacks count as magical, that's still the same, but that does not affect the knight's mount, and I'm assuming that's also not going to be the case in this edition. Then we can add even more abilities with magic items and knightly virtue for the Grail Guardian who leads them, or a magic banner, and we get some examples of these. The first one is the Virtue of the Impetuous Knight. This gives you a maximum charge range increase of 3 inches, and when you make a charge roll, you get plus d3 inches to the result. So again, I'm assuming here that your maximum increases, so if you add this with the Swift Stride, you will be at 20 inches, although technically you can get a 3 on the d3 and 2 6s on the d6s, so you could get 23, but it's capped off at 20. That's, I think, how this is going to go. The Virtue of the Impetuous Knight was also a thing in 6th edition, also in earlier editions, but since 6th edition is the last one that we have, and it's easiest to compare with the final edition, the Virtue of the Impetuous Knight in 6th edition sets you back 35 points. You don't get a points value here. And the knight and any mounted unit he is with adds d6 inches to the first charge that they declare. Charge is failed, the unit will not add the extra d6 to their failed charge movement. It's changed up quite a bit, but well, this is probably more in keeping with the newer rules, especially since in 6th edition your charge range was simply double your movement value. Then we get a few magic items. The Dragon Slaying Sword, which simply gives you a stat line. The range is combat, the strength is the strength of the user. which in the case of the Grail champion that we saw here is simply 4. Because, well, this is the Grail Guardian, that's the one that they are going to put this on in this example. And it says the special rules, magical attacks and monster slayer. Of course, they won't explain what monster slayer does, but I'm assuming there's going to be something like killing blow against monsters. Might make sense if that's the case. Might also mean that that you get bonuses when hitting or wounding monsters. Might not even mean killing blow, but that's a slaying sword, so let's just assume it's going to be killing blow. I'm rooting for it to be killing blow. And finally we get a magic standard, the Blazing Banner. This gives you flaming attacks. Can be useful especially against Tomb Kings. But, well, how useful exactly that's going to be, we will see. They end off with this little section right here. Universal special rules provide the variety, character and granularity you need for a realm as violent as varied as the world of legend. Elite units such as Grail Knights generally have the most USRs, but even the lowly likes of Bretonnian squires have a few tricks up their sleeves. Move through cover, open order, peasantry, skirmishes and vanguard. And we can more or less guess what these are going to be. Open order is something that you get for every unit, which type of order that they can have. The peasantry, that's probably going to be something like they don't cause panic tests in knights. Skirmishes and vanguard, those are going to be the types that you can guess from earlier editions. Vanguard meant that you could move up. Might be that in this case they are going to say that this is going to replace scouting. I'm not going to be sure. Vanguard used to be that you could move up, I believe, up to 12 inches or something before the battle starts. And skirmishes means that you can move in that loose skirmish formation that they showed earlier. However, to find out what these will do, you'll have to complete your questing vow of buying Warhammer, the Warhammer the Old World rulebook when it goes on pre-order sometime in the new year. We already knew it was going to be sometime in the new year. Once again, February has been mentioned. So everything that we see here leads us to believe that this is going to be the final article in this series. It might be that we get some more new stuff. I'm looking forward to seeing a Tomb Kings miniatures release or preview or whatever you're going to call it. I'm also I've also got to mention that we've gotten this leaked image of a new Warhammer the Old World novel. This is a book by Graham McNeil called Lords of the Lands, not to be confused with Lord of the Dance. This was a book. This was leaked on a French bookstore, French online bookstore. As an ebook, you could get it for €12. Friend, it goes on sale January the 20th. I'm hoping that they're also going to release this as a paperback version because I like my books to be made of paper. And since Warhammer the Old World is going to cater to a lot of grumpy old players like me, I'm assuming that more of you will also like your books to be made of paper and not of ones and zeros. That's going to be it for this episode. If you'd like to see more things like this, then leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel. You can also become a member of the Forces of Fantasy podcast Patreon, where you'll find exclusive bonus content. You can join for as little or as much as you like. And of course, we also have the main podcast, the Forces of Fantasy podcast, where we cover all things from Warhammer Fantasy, all the materials starting all the way back in 1st edition. And of course, we're also going to take some time out of our busy historical schedule to cover Old World events if and when they hit. I'm not going to do it as extensive as I do here on YouTube, but I will definitely spend some time on those as well. Thank you very much for watching. I don't know when the next video will be, because if there's not going to be another update next week, then I probably will take a break and not post another Warhammer the Old World update. But if more news hits, then you can be assured that I will be covering it here on the channel. So see you next time, whenever that may be.